I know some people are trickling in, so we can just start once they join.
In your life. You can start it.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our youth panel event. As we mentioned before, this is a part of the series of parallel events that the Vaishnavi Ministry is putting on for the UNCSW 70th session of the UNCSW conference in New York. And so we're really excited to have everyone here today to talk about their perspectives on the various topics that we'll discuss today. And we're really excited to have some people joining us as well as viewers. And we're excited to go ahead and get started. So today we have with us 5 different youth leaders across ISKCON. So we have Mehak, Vraja, Krishna, Nikit, and Vaishnavi. Thank you guys for being here today. It's really nice to be able to meet you all and to be able to have this discussion. And without further ado, we can go ahead and get started. So our first panelist is Mehak. She's based in Montreal. And Mehak is a dedicated volunteer and the leader of the temple decorations team at ISKCON Montreal. She oversees the decoration services and coordinates the preparation of garlands and temple decor, helping create a beautiful and devotional atmosphere for the deities and the devotees. With the support of a team of enthusiastic devotees, she helps organize and lead decoration services for festivals, special programs, and daily temple offerings. Her service focuses on bringing devotees together through devotional engagement and ensuring the temple environment reflects the spirit of bhakti. Through her seva and teamwork, Mehak strives to contribute to the devotional community by helping maintain a sacred and welcoming space for all who visit the temple. She's also passionate about being part of this meeting and is eager to learn from the experiences and the insights of devotees from all around. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So I guess our first question for you is, what are the most effective ways youth leaders can create strong and engaged communities within temples or local groups?
I think according to me, really like youth, they play like a really powerful role in building like stronger communities. And the most important thing is that I think youth, they lead with example. So when we see that what our senior devotees are doing or our senior leaders are doing, we want to learn from them. And obviously, like, there's always like this mentor-mentee relationship that's going on. And I feel like that really helps the youth learn and really create the change through their ideas and really just like being engaged in like temple activities and helping the other youth or like the younger people who come to temple, engage them in activities. And also, I feel like if we organize like, more retreat programs or like youth programs where all of us can really just be together, share ideas, share our point of views on like different things, and obviously share our values and the love that we have for Krishna. And yeah, so I think according to me, we have to really make sure that youth they feel comfortable when they come to temple because we know that we're all busy with school, with work. We're really like, it's a struggle. So I feel like when we encourage our youth to come to temple to like help them like maintain their services, to help them like engage in more activities, participate in kirtans, participate in like youth programs. I feel like it's really based on like understanding other people and others like lifestyles and kind of just bringing all of them together to create a community where everyone feels comfortable, where everyone feels like they're being respected. So I think for me, really it's really through organizing like multiple events, discussions, and yeah,
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think as youth, we really value example. The first thing you said really resonated with me. Being by example and having those role models and then following their footsteps as well is really, really important to us. So I definitely agree with what you said. And I think now we can move to Krishna. Let me go ahead and introduce Krishna first. Based in New York City, Krishna Rai is an engineering supervisor at Con Edison and an active youth leader dedicated to spiritual education and engagement at ISKCON New York City. He's involved in initiatives such as Bhakti School, designed to introduce the Bhakti tradition to newcomers, and Jeev Jago to support youth development through Shastric learning. As a passionate Kirtan enthusiast, he regularly participates in devotional music communities such as the New York City Harinam and Mantra meditation programs. He also contributes to organizing dramas and festivals that celebrate Vedic tradition and Bhakti Yoga. Through both professional and devotional service, Krishna Rai strives to inspire young people towards purposeful living and collective harmony. Thank you so much for being here today. And
Yes, Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you. Please accept my humble obeisance. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Firstly, just thanks so much for having me here and giving me the opportunity to speak something from my limited realization. I pray that anything that I say is beneficial for whoever's watching this and request blessings from all my mentors and hope that the right words come out at the right time. I totally agree with you, Meha. Really, uh, very, and I think what it boils down to, the basis for any effective way of creating a strong and engaged community is entirely contingent on, I would say, one thing, enthusiasm. Prabhupada, our main teacher for this Krishna consciousness movement, talks about how enthusiasm is the main tenet which brings success in spiritual life. And then 5 years ago, one of our acharyas, Mehak was mentioning, and you were also mentioning, an acharya basically means somebody who leads by example and follows in accordance to scriptural study. Srila Rupa Goswami, 500 years ago, says in Nectar of Instruction a very beautiful verse about the 6 things that are favorable to spiritual life and success. And it starts with Utsaha Nishchaya Dhairyat. And Utsaha is the very first tenet. So enthusiasm isn't so important for anything to succeed. But the premise is, what do we have to be enthusiastic about? So in order to define that, we have to find a common goal that all the youth of the congregation is entirely excited about. Actually, when there is enthusiasm, folks feel more enthusiastic because they feel inspired to do something from that enthusiasm. Last year, around June-ish, His Holiness Sachinandan Maharaj had visited us in New York, and he's like a senior devotee in this movement for many, many decades. And I asked him the question, how can we foster a culture of enthusiasm here in New York City? And then he said a very, very simple but very profound thing. He said that we should start getting together and having a regular kirtan practice, similar to what Mehak was saying, having a practice, a fixed time when people can get together and do something. And it made me think about the primary reason behind this movement is that chanting these divine names of the Lord and coming together in congregation is the essence of how something cultivates. Harir Nam, Harir Nam, Eva Kevalam, Kalo Naste, Eva Naste, Eva Naste, Eva Gatiranyata. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting these names. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. And reflecting on this, I was thinking about how in New York City in particular, I've made some of my best friendships and established some of my most dear, intimate relationships on the basis of these chanting, this kirtan congregation coming together. So many relationships I just relish because there's this centrified goal in the middle of glorifying the divine name, and it brings us together. And we all love doing this service together. We all love coming together, congregating, and doing kirtan together. And that in itself resulted in that enthusiasm that I was talking about. We're all enthusiastic to come together and sing together and participate in mantra meditation and support His Grace Ram Roy Prabhu at the New York City Harinam, like you mentioned, and do kirtan in the temple and the community. And because we're attached to this practice of kirtan, we're also in a way attached to each other. We've built a strong foundation, a strong sense of unity, and therefore it in turn makes us enthusiastic to cooperate and then do service together. I would say enthusiasm and having a common goal is the main points.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think one of the first thing that draws such a youth to um, the movement into these communities is enthusiasm and seeing that energy. And so when we come together to have that energy, to have that enthusiasm, I think that really draws people and like pulls together the community. You become united for that. So I definitely agree with what you said. Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. Next, we're going to move to Regia. Raja Sundari Naidu is a first-year medical student at the University of KwaZulu-Natal's Nelson Mandela School of Medicine in Durban, South Africa. She's granddaughter of pioneers who helped establish the ISKCON community in Durban. This spiritual upbringing has shaped her commitment to service, compassion, and leadership rooted in strong values. During her high school years, Raja Sundari demonstrated active youth leadership as chairperson of the Hindu Students Association, where she organized events and initiatives that fostered cultural awareness and youth engagement. Vraja Sundari is also a youth radio presenter on Hindwani, a community radio station on a youth-focused show that shares impactful moral lessons from Vedic scriptures to inspire positive values and character development among young audiences. Her passion for youth leadership has extended into community service through her participation in the active learning project of the JBC College, where she contributed a youth perspective towards strengthening the Vaishnavi ministry in South Africa. As the elder daughter in her family, Rajasundari values mentorship and hopes to inspire young girls, including her 14-year-old younger sister, to grow into confident and compassionate leaders. Thank you so much for being here today. I also have a younger sister, so I definitely relate with that ending piece, but thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Hare Krishna, everyone. All glories to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and I hope that I can speak something of worth to you all today. So, with the question that was asked, I completely agree with the two speakers, Mahek and Krishna, before me, and I agree with lots of your points that you have brought up. And also, I think what is important for the youth nowadays, with our engagement with each other, is to definitely have that personal touch with each other, to be warm and welcoming, especially for the new youth that may have joined. There's lots of youth movement that we focus on preaching and bringing in new youth, people of our age. So being warm and welcoming is something that is very important. And through that, we should be creating a comfortable, connected, safe space, which the two of you have already mentioned before me. And this all brings about the excitement of youth, of being together with each other. And it also helps us be understanding and inclusive with each other's situations. And what I've mentioned before, all of this leads to creating what is called an experience, right, for youth. And nowadays, in the world that we are living in, everything is task driven. I think as youth, we can all identify with that. And there's so much of pressure, whether it's school, which I've just finished, or now college, university, or work. It's always like you need to do your best, you need to do your highest, get your highest grades. There's so much of pressure on us nowadays with deadlines, and as I said before, performing at your best. And now, us as the youth leaders, we should rather engage with our fellow youth because we understand their situation. And we should offer them an experience of coming to temple rather than just a task, oh, we have to go to temple now, let's go pray. And then this creates engaged communities that we will foster and grow. And we'll get to know each other and create these strong bonds with each other. And for example, here in South Africa, it's a pretty recent thing. We've been doing it for a year and a half, where we have weekly youth sanghas on a Friday night. And here every week we play games, we have youth discussions, and then we observe Gora Arti at 7 p.m. And that is such an holistic experience where I know me and a lot of the other youth in Sri Sri Radhanath Temple, we look forward to it. We message each other, hey, are you coming to temple today? We're excited for this experience because it's a time when we can really wind down, engage with each other, have that youth sangha. And it's something that there's no expectation of us. We can just enjoy ourselves. And this way, we are growing our community to be engaged, and we're creating a nice environment for everyone.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think it's really important to have strong relationships throughout creating these communities. Like, yes, we are united by our devotion and our spiritual practice, but also having that care to know what's going on in each other's lives and on a more personal level and on a deeper level is really, really important to building those strong relationships to come and to really care about each other and create stronger communities. So I definitely agree with that. Thank you for sharing that with us. We're gonna move over to Nick. Go ahead and introduce Nikhit. Nikhit is a senior at Arizona State University studying UX and currently serves as president of the Bhakti Yoga Club. He also helps run the youth group at ISKCON of Phoenix and serves as child protection ambassador. 3 years ago, he was part of the effort to restart the Bhakti Yoga Club, and over the past year, the program has grown to attract a large, consistent audience while serving sattvic food on campus. The club hosts weekly gatherings that include international guest speakers, yoga and kirtan programs, and collaborations with other groups, with some events bringing together more than 100 attendees for preaching purposes. Nikith also, on occasion, gives morning Bhagavatam classes and facilitates weekly Bhagavatam group readings and reflections for youth group meetings. He has helped organize retreats for youth and congregation members and assists in coordinating kirtan programs. He also contributes to graphic design, creating social media graphics for both the Bhakti Yoga Club and the temple. In addition, he mentors younger devotees in Mridanga, and he especially enjoys kirtan and spending times outdoors. Thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you so much, Ela, for this opportunity. And thank you to the wonderful associates here for sharing your realizations. I definitely value a lot of the points which the others before me have mentioned on this topic. And I think especially the last one on building those genuine relationships first, especially outside of the formal programs, right? Spending quality time, whether it's through prasadam, kirtans, just going out or doing small services here and there together. Those really help build those personal relationships where you can start having more trust and friendship within the youth. And when people really see that they feel seen and they feel valued by the rest of the group, then people tend to naturally stay engaged. And I think that's a very important start to a nice community at a place like a temple. And second, I would say people may be hesitant at first, to give newcomers responsibility, but I think that's a very important thing to try to do early on. When people feel that engagement and they feel that growth and they feel that ownership, that's what's really going to stick. And I think it's really important to create a space where people can feel that they can contribute, and just a community that they may be attending is going to feel like their community at that point. So I think that's the second most important thing um, when trying to take leadership in these communities. And then, of course, creating those meaningful experiences and focusing on that quality when people step into a kirtan or a a youth retreat for the first time. We really want them to feel some genuine spiritual inspiration. And when we value them on a one-on-one basis, like how Rajasundari mentioned, on welcoming them, always keeping a smile, I think that's very valuable. So balancing that spiritual depth with a welcoming culture, I think is going to do the most. A lot of times, I think people tend to get stuck in the weeds about, just a philosophy or spiritual discussion. But I think creating a balanced environment, that's really joyful and fun, and encouraging questions from people, encouraging discussion. Um, I think that makes an experience that's more warm and approachable.
Yeah, thank you. I definitely resonate with the part where you mentioned giving people small responsibilities. I think one thing that really draws us to these communities is that we feel like we're part of something bigger. We feel like we're contributing to something that is beyond just ourselves. And so feeling like you're taking some responsibility and taking ownership for what the community that you're joining definitely helps you feel a lot more connected and shows you your value and makes you feel seen. So I definitely agree with what you brought up. Thank you for sharing that. And finally, I get to introduce our last panelist for today, Vaishnavi Priya. Based in Toronto, Vaishnavi Priya is a disciple of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. She's a Bachelor of Business Administration student and an active member of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness community, dedicated to supporting youth engagement and the expansion of devotional culture. She's involved in several initiatives, including service with the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, Youth for Book Distribution, Jeev Jago, and the Rath Yatra Committee, where she helps organize programs that bring together youth and the broader community through devotional learning, outreach, and festival service. Committed to strong communication, collaboration, and dedication to service, she actively contributes to initiatives aimed at expanding the mission of ISKCON. Through her compassionate nature, academic pursuits, and devotional activities, she strives to uplift others towards spiritual growth, meaningful service, and community building. Thank you so much for being here today, Vaishnavi Priya. We're excited to have you.
Hare Krishna, thank you for having me here. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I feel like all the panelists did a great job at like answering the question, and I feel I like, second that as well. Like all the points were amazing, and having a good connection with youth and creating a welcoming environment go hand in hand, and especially in Krishna conscious communities, because I feel like youth today are going through similar hardships or like similar stages of life like school and work and social pressures, and trying to maintain the spiritual practices is like one of the main things that kind like they have to like think about. And like so like when young devotees feel connected to others who understand those challenges, it creates a strong sense of support and belonging. So I feel like that association is really important, and it's very powerful because the people we spend time with naturally influence our mindset and habits. So having other devotee youth with us, it helps us stay on track and keep up with our sadhana and like not get diverted with the materialistic lives. And I feel like to build that kind of connection, it's important to create a welcoming environment where everyone feels included. And sometimes that simplest things could be like doing service together, serving prasadam together, or cleaning the temple together. And when people decide whether they feel comfortable in a community within the first interactions, so it's really important that we create a welcoming environment for everybody in the temple. If you see a new youth coming in, just like go and say hi. It's like that's all it takes, right? So another key part is creating opportunities for participation, right? So like when youth are given small services, it really helps build their sorry, build their confidence, right? Just like how we mentioned, like the small services just to be a part of the community. So ultimately, like having a welcoming environment comes from a mood of genuine care and humility. So when young devotees feel appreciated or supported and included, they naturally become more enthusiastic about their spiritual journey and more eager to help, and they would want to come to the temple, just like how I think Raj Sundari said about like, oh, are you coming to the temple? Like I always do that too on a Sunday evening. I just text my friends, oh, are you coming to the temple? Because if they're coming, I feel motivated to come as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely relate to that. I feel like that's a pretty common thing that a lot of youth do, always like asking your friends, are you coming today? You know, are we gonna stay for kirtan? And those kinds of things. And just having that, just having someone with you is always very inspiring. So thank you for sharing that. And I think we'll move back to Mehak. So we want to learn more about how you all actually got involved in leadership, you know, what did it take to get there? And so for you, Mehak, I wanted to ask, what inspired you to step into a leadership role within your youth community, and what was one early lesson that shaped how you lead today?
So for me, I have not been in ISKCON for a very long time. I only joined like 3 years ago. And for me, I think it was really the encouragement part that really inspired me. All of the devotees, like if you've ever been to ISKCON Montreal, you would know how the community, we're always like, one for all for one. And it's really how like the senior devotees and like the older youth, they were always like encouraging me to like, do service. And like Virgil Sundari, I think she mentioned before that um I'm sorry, I don't think it was Virgil Sundari, I think it was Nikit that mentioned this, that when we encourage or the newcomers to like participate in like services, we give them like a role to like kind of engage themselves in like service. And I feel like that's the part that was really important for me, because like ever since the beginning I was really like, all the devotees, they encouraged me to like do small services, whether that was like for baking like the cake, like decorating the cake or helping in the kitchen, or whether that was with garlands. And really from that, I was really encouraged. I felt really confident. I felt like I wanted to come to temple. And over some time, I really just like, last year, it really started last year, we had like a big festival, Kirtan festival in our temple. So during that, one of like the devotees, they approached me and they were like, do you want to take upon this service to like, for the decorations? You would have your own team and we're leaving it all up to you. For me, that was like a big, like, leap in faith that someone had in me. And I felt really confident that, okay, like someone sees like potential in me. And it was really from that and then on that I took upon like the service of decorating for every festival that we celebrate in the temple. And again, encouragement after like the decorations, everyone was really like, everyone was really appreciative. They all loved the decorations. And from then on, I was like, okay, like um this is my way of like showing my love for Krishna, serving Krishna in my own way. And it really helps me like stay connected to the faith. Like, it encourages me to like come to temple. And yeah, and through guidance as well, of course, from senior devotees. We have like Mother Kirtamala over here. She was the one who was taking care of the decorations before me. So she really guided me. She like showed me a lot of different techniques. She showed me a lot of different ways, which really inspired me. And I feel like one lesson that I learned was to be humble, to not like, obviously like to not be egoistic or anything, to like really respect the ones around you. And because respect goes both ways. So if you're like respecting other people are going to respect you. So I feel like I always make sure that my team feels respected. My team, they feel that they're in like a comfortable environment, because I feel like that's what really helps other people, other like you, to like engage themselves in like service too, if they feel confident, if they feel comfortable. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I think looking back at my own like services as well, I feel like there's always someone who takes the leap of faith, as you said, someone who trusts you with a responsibility. And I think it can also be a little scary at first that you don't want to, mess it up and you don't want to make mistakes. But I think that taking that leap of faith is really important, and having someone who trusts you to go ahead and do this service is always really inspiring and always continues to motivate us. So thank you for sharing that. um Now we'll move to Krishna with a different question. When organizing youth initiatives or programs, what strategies have helped you turn ideas into successful projects?
I'm sorry, you cut off. Did you call on me?
I did. I can restate the question as well.
Yes, please.
When organizing youth initiatives or programs, what strategies have helped you turn ideas into successful projects?
Okay. So strategies that have helped turn ideas into successful projects. So I would say it starts with a principle in Sanskrit called svasthya. Svasthya means care, and it originates from creating a culture of care. So people don't really care how much you know until they know how much you care. So that's kind of like the idea behind it. And as Mehik was just saying, relationships are such a big part of the success because if there is a strong sense of friendship and a strong sense of camaraderie at the base of the initiative, then you generally know each other's likes, each other's dislikes, each other's preferences, difficulties, at least to some extent, which can help in organizing and shaping the initiatives and programs that would be created in general. So just being conscious and frequently checking in on what's going on in each other's lives helps us get a sense of what I would say is the next important thing is getting a sense of favorable timing, understanding what time works for most people, what is beneficial and favorable. So if it's a time where there's many festivals going on and maybe lots of folks have exams coming up or they're busy at work, then more likely than not, a program during this time will not succeed. Um, just being conscious of people's availability helps a lot with the success of the program because obviously there is no program if the youth are not there. It's the people that make the program, not the program that make the people. So having a culture of people first before productivity is a great mindset that helps turn ideas into successful projects. And next, it would be sometimes getting inspiration from other people, other groups who have created successful projects, following examples and advice from friends who have done similar things in the past. Um, Sometimes we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can just see what others have done. Jeev Jago, New York City, has taken a lot of inspiration from communities in like the ISKCON of Silicon Valley, from Pandavasena from the ISKCON of London. Um, and we take so much inspiration from them. And then I think just from association with them, with the Silicon Valley youth and their their primary spiritual mentor, His Grace Vaisheshika Das, we have been trying to establish a culture that works because it's been working in the Bay Area. So we want to follow that method and establish a culture of reading, a culture of Shastric study, which has been immensely successful. One of the programs, as a quick example, is in Silicon Valley, they do something called Youth Jam. So in that similar model in New York City, we created a model called Jiva Jam, which is every Sunday morning we have a recitation, we do some reading, we do some in-depth study and conversation, and then just from those realizations we share with another, we present to each other. And at the same time, we try to make it youthful, fun, have a sense of easygoingness to it. We do fun activities like dramas, we have rap battles, we have poetry slams, and it's just like the these examples were set in motion. Others have been doing it. It works, so let's take that and play and build off of that. So that's how I would answer this question.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's really cool to see what unique ideas you guys have been doing. I think we can definitely take inspiration from that for our own temple communities. But thank you so much for sharing what you guys do. That's awesome. Thank you. Okay, now to we can move back to Nikit to ask a similar question as we asked um Mehak. So for Nikit, what inspired you to step into a leadership role within your youth community, and what was one early lesson that shaped how you lead today?
Thank you for the wonderful question. This is something I get asked a lot, and to be honest, I never really know how to answer it because it's something that I genuinely like stumbled into. So during COVID, which looking back at it now was a way longer time ago than it feels like, but um, we really were trying to tackle the problem of, you know, how to get the youth together after not being able to go to the temple in person every week. Um, and most of us were like freshly out of Sunday school, which was quite an experience. So we wanted to keep the learning going, the reading going. So with the help of a few senior devotees and their encouragement, we started a weekly reading. And at first, I wasn't experienced in this type of leadership at all. So I would conduct, you know, every reading myself. I would create a reading order for people to go through, and then we had a few exercises that we would pull from another book. You know, in order to get everyone to dive into certain verses more deeply, and then to share their realizations with each other. But eventually I realized that, this is definitely something that more of the youth could do. So we started a rotation, and I think that's when people knew that during the rotation they'll have a week where they can take ownership of this meeting themselves. That really encouraged people to keep attending, and um, it really grew uh, the group to a bigger number at an unexpected time. Like during COVID, that's I think before that we never had that many attendees. So that's something that was really eye-opening for me. Um, and then beyond that, a couple years ago, uh, there was an idea to restart the Bhakti Yoga Club at the university. And when we first started, it would just be three of us. It would be me, a senior devotee. And the first time we started, there was just one random student who happened to see us that morning on the campus website that we were hosting a program. And he came in, did not know what to expect. I've never booked rooms there, so we just had one little boardroom with a fixed table. So you can imagine that wasn't super ideal for kirtan, but I'd be on the floor playing mridanga, and someone will be sitting up on the table singing. And it was really awkward at first, but I realized after that day that, just connecting with people one on one is what does it. And over time, we really built consistency. Even if we had, almost no one coming in, we still met every week. We really focused on the purpose, why we're doing this, right? And that's what really kept it going. And over a few semesters now, we have a really good core group around 30 people on campus who are completely new to Bhakti, are now attending. They always ask, like, what can I do to help? So we're really happy that people feel that they can ask that without us approaching people for help. Even, people always come to us after the program and they say, we can come a little early to help you guys set up. We can do this, we can do that. And, that's something I've really appreciated. And I've realized that's what it actually means to be a leader, is to inspire others to get involved. And, not just take it all for yourself. So that was definitely a learning process. And yeah, I'm thankful to all the opportunities I've had so far.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think just seeing how our communities are growing and how fast they are growing, sometimes we forget the value of just being in a small group and having those one-on-one interactions and being able to connect at such a small scale. And over time, I'm growing that, of course. But thank you for sharing. That was really nice to hear about those like interactions and that journey to restarting the yoga club. And as you mentioned at the starting, this event is a parallel event to the 70th session of the UNCSW conference in New York City. And so we wanted to ask maybe a question along the lines of the goals of the UNCSW conference. So we'll move to Vraja Sundari. So for you, I wanted to ask, how can we encourage participation from young women or more generally youth who may feel hesitant?
Thank you so much for that question. So, firstly, we need to understand where this hesitation comes from, right? That is the key part of this question. And hesitation generally comes from fear, right? And we need to find out the root of that fear or hesitation. And it could stem from maybe stereotyping, especially for young women and girls who may have experienced this at some point in their life. And for me, I am very grateful to have not experienced anything like this because I've been surrounded by so many Vaishnavis that, uh, even in my family, that have been given big leadership roles in ISKCON. So I always look up to them for that. But I think now, as the youth, there is so much more awareness around this topic about women and being hesitant and inclusivity of women. And now we see Vaishnavis in leadership in ISKCON all over the world, not just in South Africa. And this is inspiring for the youth to see that there are so many Vaishnavis in these big leadership positions. But the key to addressing this is to definitely have a space of zero judgment, right? That is very important for us to have. And secondly, we have power as leaders to change the environment that we are in. Okay. And we need to have an understanding of what our fellow youth want, just youth in general, and the ladies. And we need to be open to have these ideas and discussions, even if they are uncomfortable. That is very important for us to have, to foster this caring, comfortable environment that we all spoke about in the beginning. That is very important. And maybe another idea is to encourage participation in smaller circles. I think Nikki did mention this in the previous question, but that makes it a lot more comfortable for the youth, for women, and it's easy for them to integrate, even if it's in a small kirtan group, a small book club. We're not going straight into these big Rath Yatra festivals with so many people and big services. Just start small, maybe on a Friday evening or after Sunday love feast. That could be very impactful to help reduce that anxiety that some people might have. So those small actions and steps, the hesitation will slowly dwindle and we can move past that.
Yeah, I think starting small is always a good idea, especially for someone who may be a little bit more hesitant to go ahead and get started. That's always a good space to create that trust and that judgment-free zone, as you said, to make them feel that they can trust the people around them, that they won't be judged if they do take up more leadership roles, if they do take up more services. So thank you so much for sharing that. And now we'll move to Vaishnavi Priya. Going back to a similar question we've been asking. Um, what inspired you to step into a leadership role within your youth community, and what was one early lesson that shaped how you lead today?
That's an amazing question. I feel like so what inspired me most was seeing the impact that youth programs and devotee association had on my own spiritual journey. Being around other young devotees who were enthusiastic about Krishna consciousness and like made a huge difference in my life. At some point I realized that if these opportunities help me so much, then it will be it will also be beneficial for the younger generations after me and like the other youth around me. So one early lesson that really shaped how I lead was realizing that leadership is not about having all the answers. Like we always assume that leadership means you need to know everything, you need to have answers for everything, but that's not true. In the beginning, I thought like a leader needed to understand everything and know everything, but I quickly learned that the most important qualities are humility and willingness to learn. If we are willing to learn, then that's all that matters. Sometimes things don't go exactly as planned, and that's okay. And those experiences teach us how to adapt, listen to others, and depend more on Krishna. I think in Krishna, being in Krishna consciousness, we've always learned that we're not the doer and Krishna is the doer. So understanding that is the big thing. I feel like as a leader, you need to understand that some things are not in your control and just leaving it to Krishna is the most important thing. That mindset really changed how I approach leadership, and from trying to like control outcomes to focusing on how sincere you're doing a service and how like just leaving results to Krishna basically.
Yeah, thank you. I think being a strong learner is definitely a trait of a leader, someone who's able to figure out what the situation is quickly or learn different skills quickly to take up responsibility where there may be gaps and all those kinds of things require being a strong learner. And so I'm glad you shared that. Thank you so much. Okay, now we will move back to Mehak. So oftentimes in any community that we take leadership roles into, we know that there can be disagreements and there can be just based on the different people working within your team. So I wanted to ask, leadership often involves working with different personalities and perspectives. So how do you navigate disagreements or conflicts within a team?
So I think this is like a common problem that everyone goes through as like, someone who leads a team. There's a lot of brains, there's a lot of like, brainstorming that's going on between everyone. Um, but yeah, I think the one main key to like avoid these conflicts or avoid like, or to like resolve the conflicts is really to listen. I feel like sometimes we're just like focusing on like being heard than like rather than listening. And I feel like if we actually put like more emphasis on listening to other people, to listening to other people's like ideas, I feel like that really helps, because I think people, they are going to like, respect you when they feel heard and then they feel respected, because most of the problems, they mainly arise from, misunderstandings or like miscommunication. So I feel like the main key to like really avoid conflict is to listen actively. And then if there is like a conflict that arises, I feel like the one thing that we need to like focus mainly on is that the shared spiritual values that we have and this shared goal that we have. So rather than being like right or wrong, rather than telling someone, oh, well, I don't agree, well, I think you're wrong and I'm right, I think we should mainly focus on what the bigger goal is, and then listen to other people's ideas, listen to like what anyone has to offer before making a decision yourself. Because like Vaishnavi Priya, she just mentioned that a leader is not supposed to know everything. Oftentimes they're not, we're like confused as well. We can be confused. So taking help from others, taking help from like the youth is really is, I think that's what like inspires other people to speak up, speak their own mind, speak their own ideas as well. And I think the main goal for all of us is to like, let go of false ego that we have and emphasize on working towards the higher goal that we have. So I think the main key is really to listen and to know what the main goal is and make the right decision, and obviously be willing to compromise whenever there's an whenever it's necessary. So yeah.
Yeah, I think what you described is all very important for a healthy conflict because I disagreements come up wherever you go, but I think that willingness to listen and showing that you are here to hear different ideas and perspectives is really important to create healthy conflict because sometimes that those disagreements are necessary to create the best results to serve our communities and to serve all those around us. So it was really nice to hear you talk about all of these things. I think kind of circling back to what we were talking about earlier with having more inclusive leadership, getting more women or any youth who are hesitant to get involved, we can go back to Krishna. I wanted to ask, how can we encourage participation from young women or more generally youth who may feel hesitant?
Mm, for the question. Yeah, just building off of what Vraja Sundari said, it was an incredible, amazing answer that she gave that we have to first find the source of the hesitancy, what the fear, why there's the fear there to begin with. And one realization that I had very recently is that there's almost like a subtle cultural boundary developed over time, like expectation, stereotypes, etc. But I think the best way to combat, to start is A, you have to know that it's possible, that it's not a bubble, it's not a stereotype. And B, someone has to step up and have guts and take the initiative to show that it's possible and that it's okay. Last Sunday, actually, I was having a conversation with a dear friend of mine. Her name is Sushri. She's a fellow leader in Jeev Jago and a big inspiration to me and to many of the youth in my community. And she had a desire to bring a mridanga to Guru Aarti. And you guys had mentioned, so mridanga is basically, for those who don't know what a mridanga is, it's like a traditional ancient Indian drum that is played in kirtan congregations and for this mantra meditation practice. So Sushri wanted to bring mridanga to the temple room, and so she took the initiative and stepped up and desired to do this. And then she expressed to her friends, some of the other youth girls in Jeev Jago, that, hey, I feel kind of lonely. It would be really nice if you guys would come with me and bring your mridangas also. And then suddenly she was telling me how the girls expressed their hesitancy about it because girls playing manga isn't a common common practice that's typically seen in temples. And that made me realize how culturally somehow playing mridanga has become a boy thing. And in order to change this, we have to show the young women in our community that no, it's not a boy thing. It's a means to glorifying the holy name, and that too. So I was very pleased last Sunday at Gora Arti, which is the evening at Sri Radha Govardhan Temple PM offering, and they love feast. Sushri and three other girls had come to the temple with mridangas, and they absolutely rocked it. Like it was incredible. It must have been one of like the most powerful artis that I've attended because the energy was just like skyrocketing. So many brahmacharis, so many resident temples told me like, wow, like this youth group is so fired up. There were so many mridangas. It was such an ecstatic experience. So we have to encourage the young women in this way, show them that yeah, you have the desire, but there isn't a barricade. Just go and do it, and we're here to support you in this endeavor. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's always very powerful to see young women stepping up to take these roles that over time may have been stereotyped, as you said, as a more like almost like a boy like responsibility or boy kind of action to take. And so it's really, really inspiring to see young women step up to combat those stereotypes and to show that this is not something that we should be boxing in a way as like something that they cannot do. And so thank you for sharing that story. It's really, really nice to hear. Now we can move to Nikhit. What is one challenge you faced as a youth leader in your community, and how did that experience shape your approach to leadership?
Thank you for sharing that question. So I think one challenge that I faced, especially at university, ASU, as many people may or may not know, especially the Tempe campus, is, you know, it's one of the biggest college towns in all of the US. And we have loads of new people coming in every semester, and not just every semester, but every few weeks. We will see um, and weekly even we'll see new people step into that space. And the first challenge that I face here at universities is how to engage people who are coming in for the first time, who don't know what to expect, and coming in from all types of different backgrounds. And a lot of common issues here are, you know, trying to promote relatability between different types of people coming in, and also uh, creating a space where they feel that they're welcome. And this really made us kind of put our heads down during breaks and really think about, you know, what we can do. And the first thing we did was we actually, when we came in for the new semester, we took a poll, and we had a lot of returning members, a lot of new members, and we asked them, you know, like, how was your experience? Like, what feedback do you have? What do you think we could do better? And giving people this voice and giving people the space to share their opinions, that really helped us, you know, make the necessary improvements. And we even brought some folks who had just been joining our in-person meetings to our planning sessions, and we let them share, you know, to the whole team, like what ideas they have. Um, and I think this really helped us overcome that challenge uh, of trying to be inclusive to people. And even now, after every meeting, we send a survey to all the newcomers, and a lot of them really take the time to fill that out and share their thoughts, because they see, you know, the effort that we've taken uh, during the session and after the session to see how they feel and to care for them. So I think that's one of the ways that we overcame such a challenge. And other challenges we faced also include, I think, consistency in showing up to meetings. I think if we don't have variety, you know, with our weekly sessions, in the past, you know, that can cause people to, you know, kind of, you know, not want to attend, especially if it's a very philosophy heavy session. So we've implemented something new recently where we do breakout rooms, and we give smaller sections for people who are joining to, kind of break down a verse and then share it in their own words. And when we do that weekly, we see that people have actually been really excited to come and not just read, but also to share their own realization and work in smaller groups in that way. So yeah, those are two challenges I think that we've faced, and thanks to the wonderful team we have here, we've been able to overcome.
Thank you for sharing that. I think being from Phoenix myself, I think I can definitely see how it would be a challenge with ASU, just how dynamic and constantly changing that environment can be, with how big that campus is. And so definitely can see how that could be a challenge. And it was really nice to hear how you guys have been working on combating that and working with the dynamics that ASU has to present. So thank you for sharing that. And I think one thing that as youth that we really look up to and value as we enter these leadership roles is mentorship. It's always been very important to me, and I believe all of us as well, to have those mentors to look up to who can guide you and who you can ask any of your questions to with without judgment and feeling having that trust that someone is looking out for you, someone more experienced. And so I wanted to ask Mehak, Vraja, and Vashmi Priya, we can go like take turns up, of course, but I wanted to ask what role does mentorship play in leadership, and how can youth leaders begin to support the next generation after them? So maybe we can start with Vraja.
Okay, thank you for that question. Um, so this is such an important consideration. I've grown up in a family of devotees, right? I was born a devotee, and so I've had mentorship for in so many different perspectives in my service. But then this question really makes me think about my grandfather, right? And he was one of the pioneers in ISKCON Durban, the Sri Sri Radharanath temple. And he is actually a photographer by profession. And Sri Sri Radharanath opened its doors, it was 40 years ago. Yeah, we celebrated the 40th anniversary of the temple last year. And he always used to tell me stories about how he went on the helicopter and used his camera to film this opening of the Grand Temple. It was a big event. So he was one of my mentors, well, is one of my mentors. And to some extent, now we see that older devotees may not be able to carry out their services in a large capacity. So this is actually a twofold thing, and it helps this mentorship actually engages and helps older devotees, and they feel included because they can share their knowledge with others, right? With the younger generation, because we need to realize that theory and experience is very different. So yes, you can just read up about how to do the service, this, but actually learning from someone who has already had experience in the service is much more helpful. And for the younger generation, we can also benefit so much from this exchange. We can build our confidence through these exchanges, and we can seek inspiration from them and build relationships that may be outside of this leadership service, right? Where we can approach them for personal guidance as well, because our life is not only spiritual, we also have a life outside of Krishna consciousness. So they can help us in a way of finding that balance between the two of our two lives, right? And we can learn from them on how to balance our careers and our spiritual life, our chanting, and all of that. So we can build that other relationship with them. And as I think Krishna said, do not reinvent the wheel, right? We should rather use that knowledge from our previous leaders to that advantage. So we should take full advantage of that. And then also, as leaders, I mentioned before, we have the power to change our situation. And we need to really think about how we can support the generation that will be coming up after us, which may be a while from now, but still, it's important to start young. And we should give association to the younger devotees, especially like maybe primary school level children, and we should create those opportunities for them to plan the small projects, maybe not the big projects as I said before that we plan out, but the smaller services, the smaller projects. Maybe it's a small game night, see what they want to do, and how they can develop their leadership skills. And this is our way of teaching by example, which is very powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think even at our own, like at the Phoenix Temple as well, we, under the guidance of our Sunday school teachers and Shamuni Mataji, and with all of our wonderful mentors, they have them like do small presentations and showcase what they've learned in Sunday school and kind of start to take responsibility in very, very small ways, but to kind of get them started on that path of taking that leadership responsibility. So it's really nice to hear you talk about that. I think now we can move to Mehak. I think Mehak might have to leave us in a little bit, so we wanted to make sure we get your answer in before you leave. But just the same question, I can restate it really quick. What role does mentorship play in leadership, and how can youth leaders support the next generation coming after them?
So for me, I feel like mentorship really helps pass on the knowledge, the values, and the shared experiences. I mean, I'm sure like all of our parents are always like, telling us about the experiences that they have had and how they like really, um, I cannot find the right words right now. I'm sorry. How they really, um, I'm so sorry. I cannot find the right words. Really about how our parents or like any like older people than us, how they guided themselves through the difficulties that they faced, the challenges that they faced, and it really, for me, really helps me with guidance because I really am a person who strives to like know about like different like things, who strives to like learn about new skills, new about just like everything knowledge. I I just like to like gather it from where I can, and I feel like from like guidance we can like learn how to lead events, like lead discussions, or like really just organize programs because all of the senior devotees in our temple, they have been doing this for decades. They have been organizing festivals. They have been organizing like small like whether that's small like sanghas or whatever that is. They really they have been doing it for decades and they have more experience than us. So I feel like learning from them is like the best thing we can do to teach or like inspire the generation that is coming after us, right? So it's really like it goes like hand in hand that we take this knowledge from our mentors, we pass it on to the younger generation that's coming. And for the younger generation, again, like Raja Sundari mentioned, that we can like engage them in like small activities like dramas or like singing at temple, whether that's Nishinga Devarti or just like a small kirtan for like 15 minutes. In this con module we actually have a lot of like young kids who are like aged from around like 5 to 10 who love to like participate in kirtan, whether that's with playing mridanga, whether that's singing or like singing the Nrsimha Devarti. I feel like that really inspires them. And again, yes, mentorship, it really just like helps pass on the knowledge, and through us, the generation that's coming after us, they can also get encouraged and learn more.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I definitely agree with what you said. It definitely we all have similar ideas about mentorship and how we can start engaging younger devotees. And finally, we want to move to Vaishnavi Priya, if you want to add what you think about this question about mentorship.
Both the panelists did a great job at answering the question, but I'm just gonna like add 2 cents of mine. I think mentorship is absolutely essential in leadership, especially in Krishna consciousness, because in ISKCON we have always, and we always speak about the importance of sadhu sangha, which is devotee association, and we have always been taught how important it is to have devotees around us who guide us and inspire us. So for youth leaders, mentorship means creating an environment where younger devotees that feel seen and they feel encouraged and supported. So sometimes that looks like formal guidance, but sometimes it's simply being there for them and like listening to the challenges or sharing our own experiences and encouraging them in their service. So one thing I have learned is that mentorship is not about controlling or directing someone's path. It's more about empowering them to discover their own service to Krishna. If we give younger devotees opportunities to like maybe lead kirtan as mentioned before, or like organize small programs or contribute ideas, they begin to develop confidence and they like take ownership. So like just like how we have been mentored by our parents and our older generations, we also need to give back and do the same for the next generation coming in so we can have a strong foundation for them. Support sorry Supporting the next generation also means investing time in them and like checking in with them, appreciating their efforts and helping them see their potential. So like ultimately the goal is to help them feel that this community is their community and they are the future generation, so they also have a responsibility to serve and uplift others and do the same for the next generation coming in after them.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think we actually have one question from some of our audience members. So we have a question from Kripamoya Das and Kripamay Dasi. They said, how do you manage the competitiveness between the youth? And they are wishing us strength and success in our endeavors. Anyone can go ahead and take this question. Anyone have any ideas? You can open it up to any of our panelists. I can restate it really quick. How do you manage the competitiveness between the youth?
I'm gonna go ahead and like give my perspective on this. A lot of people might not agree with me, but feel like as a young woman, there's always some sort of like competition that's going on, whether that's like, in society, how we're supposed to like present ourselves, or whether that's in temple, like, um, other like youth, they might want to like be in the same role as you, and in my point of view, there's really just no competition between anyone. I'm really a person who does not like to think of anything or anyone as competition for me. um, I feel like if we look at ourselves, if we're humble enough, we can really just like give others the opportunity that we have and help them learn or like take their ideas and learn from them. So yeah, for me, I feel like the competition, it really just comes from like um, that again, that's just my point of view. It gives you like kind of like a sense of like insecurity, and that is something that I feel like a lot of women we resonate with. um we have to like live up to the societal pressures. We have to live up to the idea of what a woman is supposed to be like. We're all supposed to live up to that, but in reality I feel like there's space for all of us to be successful, for all of us to achieve the goals, to really build a stronger and beautiful community. There is really a place for everyone, and I want to see all of like my friends succeed, whether that's in the same field as me or whether that's in a different field than me. um, we all have our own journeys, we all have our own paths, and at the end of the day, again, there is no competition. There's place for everyone to be respected, to take a leadership role, or whether that's just like in the normal lifestyle we have apart from spirituality. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Would anyone else like to add on?
Okay, I was just thinking about this question. And in our philosophy in Krishna consciousness, one of our fundamental things is that everyone is equal in the eyes of the Lord, right? Krishna consciousness promotes equality because we are the soul in the body. And as leaders, I think we need to really keep that in mind, even if we see some competitiveness between the youth, between everyone, and that is some discussions that we should have, with if between Kirtanias, between women. Those are important discussions that even if it might be an uncomfortable topic, it's something that we really need to discuss within our communities, the equality. And we should use this philosophy of being equal in the eyes of Krishna to uplift one another instead of going against each other with the competitiveness. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think in our communities, we obviously competition is a natural thing. Sometimes it can arise in different situations, but I think at the end of the day, we recognize that there are enough services for everyone. There's always an abundance of service. There's always something you can find to do, and I think that helps combat any of that competitiveness. I would say I haven't really encountered it myself. I think everyone kind of recognizes that there's a place for them to be able to serve. I think Krishna, did you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I mean, my head you gave excellent answer just now. I was just trying to point and like add on. His Holiness Kirshwami says, if you want to go far, you should go together. And realistically, the only person that you should have competitiveness with is probably yourself. And you realizing together that we're all on the same, we all serve the same goal, we all want to please Krishna and his devotees. When you have that fundamental basis to it, um, you uplift one another, you inspire one another, and so in that sense, competitiveness is healthy when it doesn't breed envy, but breeds growth and development, and not just within for yourself, but within each other for the entire community as a whole. So yeah, those are just my 2 cents. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that that quote is very it definitely sums up what we're trying to say here. So thank you for bringing that up. We're nearing the end of our panel discussion. I think I'll do one more question, but in case I think Mehak and Nikit might need to leave us very soon. But before you all leave, I just wanted to say thank you so much for being here today and sharing your perspectives. It was really inspiring to hear both of you speak and to get to know about your guys' experiences with youth leadership. So I wanted to thank you all for being here in case you guys do have to head out. And for our last question, we can keep it open as well. Um, our last question is, what is one action every young devotee here, or I guess any youth, could take to become a stronger leader in their community? And what advice would you give to those who want to take initiative but aren't sure where to start? So anyone can go, we can keep that open as well.
So I'll go. I think, as we've mentioned many times before, the key is to start small, right? I've said this so many times because we already started somewhere in all of our service. We were all a bit hesitant, a bit shy, when we were initially starting, but we all started somewhere. And then now we are engaging with such a wonderful audience of people. So, also a key point is don't be afraid to reach out to and talk to your youth leaders at the various temples, because we're all approachable. We all want to expand ISKCON and the youth. So we always like there for everyone who wants to start service. Right. And another thing is to really identify your strengths and your passion, and what can you do with those strengths and passion to serve the Lord in service of Sri Krishna. And we would all get involved together in that sense. So you feel more comfortable when you do something that you're actually enjoying. And then you'll get to meet new people, become more comfortable in your environment, and there you can go further up. So that's my perspective.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. As you said, starting small is always key. Do you have anyone else who would like to add to that?
Yeah, I can add. I think I really agree with Raj Sundari. I think one simple but powerful action that every young devotee can take is like take responsibility or like for any service, no matter how small or big that is. I feel like some of the best memories I have of at the temple like is doing service, whether that be serving prasadam or like cleaning the temple or decorating a temple. So like leadership doesn't start with big titles or like large projects. It begins when we start like when we see a need in the community and step forward to help. So I would suggest like get involved in whatever way possible. Maybe that means like helping organize a small youth gathering or assisting with outreach or anything that like really interests you. So when we consistently take responsibility and serve with sincerity, I feel like leadership naturally develops because Krishna sees our efforts and gives us the ability to become a leader and guides us through everything. And most importantly, I feel like the strength of our leadership will always come from a connection with Krishna. So, like through chanting, hearing, and association with devotees. So, if we stay grounded in our spiritual practices while serving others, then we will not only organize programs but also help inspire others and build a strong Krishna conscious community. And I heard somewhere that when we take one step towards Krishna, Krishna takes 10 steps towards us. So I would say like the one thing I would like to suggest to all the young devotees is like I would urge them to take one step and see how Krishna helps them in their service and become a leader.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Definitely agree. I think it starts with taking small responsibility and trusting that as you go along, your mentors and the people around you are going to see your enthusiasm, kind of going back to what we were discussing at the beginning, and start to see that, and that more opportunities will come your way. But thank you for sharing that. Would anyone else like to add?
Krishna, I just have,
Oh,
oh, sorry, you can go ahead, Krishna.
no, after you, Nikhil.
Thank you. I just have very minor to add. Hearing everyone's answers, it also reminded me of the beginning of the session when people were sharing what it means to be a leader. Something that was brought up constantly was following example and trying to be an example. Especially in the Krishna consciousness movement, right? We all try to follow the example of our acharyas, of other people, and that's how we can grow in our own spiritual practice. So when wanting to be a leader, by just being that example for others around you, and also by taking that small responsibility for being consistent, reliable, and just trying to do service, seeing what the community needs, and trying to help fill that gap. I think these are all things that may feel small, but at the end of the day, if you inspire one person, you've already done something very, very special. So I think it's very easy to kind of lose sight of that and always look for, big, big impacts. But even inspiring one person is extremely invaluable. So yeah, I think starting small is something that's very important to keep in mind.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think being part of the Phoenix Temple myself, I think I've definitely seen you lead by example. I see where that's coming from. And so, yeah, I do believe that really helps cultivate those leadership skills and that we don't need to be so focused on maybe having maybe not just like a formal role or like looking for specific long-term things, but even small little actions that add up to show your leadership and for you to take accountability for your community. Krishna, did you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, you guys all nailed it. It's just like Nikit was saying, it's all about the essence of it is showing up for community. And like when we meditate, one thing that we can do is meditate on all the leaders in our movement that have showed up for the community. If you even think about Srila Prabhupada himself, he at the age of 69, his life was entirely set. He had a successful business, he had a family, he had no reason to do anything, but still he decided that he wanted to show up, and he wanted to come and bring this knowledge over to the West to please his spiritual master. And that's the symptom of an acharya. I think essentially it's like who do we look up to? It's somebody who consistently shows up for their service, somebody who keeps on being present. And not only that, acharya essentially means somebody who leads example and follows in the words of Shastra and scriptural study. So, like Vaishnavi Priya was saying, it's very important as well to invest in your spiritual life. It's very important to have some regular Shastric study and understand that this gift that has been given to us has come down in disciplic succession from timeless wisdom, straight from Srila Prabhupada all the way back to 5,000 years ago when Krishna spoke it in the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna on the battlefield. Shastra comes directly, and it's been spoken to his student, who's spoken to his student, who's spoken to his student, all the way to somehow us, who's achieving this treasure trove of knowledge. So just investing in that Shastric study, investing in spiritual study for ourselves, so that so every young devotee here can also invest in disciplic succession and become a stronger leader in their community.
Yeah, thank you for that example. I think connecting it back to our own leaders is really important. I think that it helps us have the correct vision. I think we've now opened it up to anyone in the audience, if anyone would like to actions from our audience. Wait, I'll wait for anything to trickle in. Okay, I don't really see anything coming in, but I wanted to thank you all for your one objectives today. We actually have Jayanti here with us, who's helped organize a lot of the youth leadership programs. Oh, we do have a question. We have one question actually. Um, before we move to Jayanti, I apologize. How do you keep on with your inspiration? The question is, how do you stay inspired, I guess, with leadership? Anyone can go ahead and take that question as well. So it's just how do you stay inspired?
No, I'll just kick it off by saying how I think Vaishnavi Priya was talking about the importance of sadhu sangha and the association of devotees, and realizing that this community that we have, it's not that I'm a leader and he's a leader and then there's a group of leaders. Actually, we're in a society where we're all leaders. A good leader is one who inspires others to become leaders. So in that way, this idea of sadhu sangha and devotee association makes us realize that all of us are actually leaders. So we inspire one another to be motivated. And personally, I couldn't do it myself. So I'm very grateful for all the exemplary people, which includes every one of you here on this panel, that give me encouragement and reminds me why I'm doing what I'm doing.
We to add to that. How do we stay
One
inspired?
small,
Yeah.
I just have one small thing to add. I feel like if we always keep in mind that what we're doing is for Krishna, then it kind of keeps us going and keeps us inspired. At least for me, that's what I do. Like I always think about like if I'm doing the service, it's for Krishna's pleasure, not for anybody else's pleasure. And I think that keeps me going for sure.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I definitely agree. Yeah, go ahead.
Um, so I think that spiritual life is something different from everyday life, right? There's always something to learn. There's endless learning. So many books that Srila Prabhupada and the Goswamis have given us, and also taking inspiration of the power of the Lord. So when you are feeling down, you're chanting, it's something that always uplifts you. So it's kind of that internal spiritual energy that is constantly inspirational in my life.
Do we have any other last words? We go ahead and close. Okay, I think that was all three of us. So as I was mentioning before, we have Jayanti here with us, who's a pioneer in bringing youth leadership to our ISKCON communities. She's done a lot of incredible work. I've heard some great stories. So we wanted to hear some words from you, maybe on how other people can get started or what the inspiration is for starting youth leadership, how people can start their own communities, anything you have in mind, but please go ahead and give words.
Yes, Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It's definitely an honor, and having a lot of other youth participate in this is always such a proud moment for myself. So again, thank you for organizing this extraordinary opportunity in bringing remarkable youth leaders together, not just on this panel, but I've seen other devotees join in, definitely listening to everyone's perspective and insight and also intentions of why they serve and how they serve. I personally actually feel very inspired and hopeful by all of you that our movement will actually continue to make tremendous progress. So as somebody in a leadership position, it's we always meditate to be like, oh, what will happen? How do we keep this movement alive? So you guys definitely fill my cup with so much hope. I definitely wanted to share that a fundamental, principle within ISKCON is that Bhakti Yoga is actually the exchange of activities through services that one does actually from the goodness of the heart to give happiness to someone else. And I recognize that all of you guys are serving in such a compassionate way. So please, I pray that you guys always keep this mood, this compassion, this understanding, for you to move forward on your journey. Uh, I was definitely thinking like, how do we kind of bring people together? And it's through unity, finding people that enrich you, finding mentors that encourage your growth, and having this belief in your own potential that Krishna actually has envisioned for you. So many times we lose sight of that. So this is definitely a monumental moment, I think. I was just texting somebody and they're like, oh, we have to do more of these. And I said, 100%. Um, all of you have the capabilities, the capacity, and the motivation as I'm hearing. And, we're getting more motivation as we continue to talk to impact others, even if it's smaller in your community or it's in a larger scale, what all of you guys are doing. You will actually be empowered if you take on this initiative, if you carry on the legacy of Srila Prabhupada. It will definitely transform your approach to life and how you want to succeed in life. So to kind of nicely wrap it up is, don't give up on what Krishna has intended you to be, intended you to do, and more importantly, intended you to become, right? This is a becoming movement. So we need all leaders, far and wide, from South Africa to Toronto. One of my friends from Calgary is here, um, all the way down to Florida. We need everyone. So please join us as we make this endeavor and to truly express our gratitude to Srila Prabhupada that has done so much for us and our mentors. We must cultivate this willingness to ask for help. There's so many devotees eager to support you, to serve you, to help you. So I call upon each one of you on this call or will watch in the future that you have to know your purpose of why. Identify who you want to develop into and create a system of how you're going to flourish, right? Because we cannot do this alone. But we can create a circle, we can create a family. And that's what Jeev Jago, especially in Toronto, New York, it's like this whole perspective of having a family. We are one family. So this is actually not just a call to action, but a reminder of all of your importance. All of you guys are needed in part of our movement. Just like as Chaitanya Charamrita, Lord Chaitanya mentions, like, we all need to be gardeners. How much can I do, right? But we can all be a gardener. So, definitely you are needed, you are loved, and we need all of you to share your love with others. So I hope that did answer your question. I know you're saying how to start a youth program is having this desire in your heart, having good mentorship, and then number two is having a nice systematic system for you guys to grow and take chances. People will make a mistake, but there's a lot of mentors there to guide you, protect you, and cheer you on for every step of your way. I think I protect my youth uh, of some of the mistakes that they make, and I always take it gladly. And you know, the leaders will always empower you. I have Vaishnavi Priya that, in Toronto, she's actually one of my right hand girls that she has passwords to my emails, and she takes care of everything and anything for me, and I'm extraordinarily proud of hearing all of you, from Krishna to all of you. So I'm so honored, and I apologize if that was a little bit longer, but it's my 2 cents.
No, not at all. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's always really inspiring to hear you all talk about how you envision youth leadership. Your passion definitely comes through. We can feel it. And I think all of us can agree that you're one of those mentors that the only reason we're able to be here and we're able to take on these leadership positions, take on these roles and do these services is because of mentors like you who have that passion, who are willing to like take our mistakes on their own heads and to give us a chance, give us like the leap of faith, as I think someone was mentioning earlier. So thank you so, so much for sharing that. Does anyone else want to add anything?
I would like, sorry,
Yeah.
if anybody would like to start a youth program, pray to Krishna with your full intention. This is a very monumental moment, like I said. Speak to your temple council and connect with other youth. We're willing to send all of our information. We're willing to connect you with the correct people. And more importantly, we're willing to really send all of our love to you. So, and don't think that these leaders just popped. All of a sudden, they came overnight. They definitely started, working from the service mood and then growing into a bigger capacity.
Yeah, I think it's a journey. I think our mentors have been there every step of the way, kind of holding our hand as we go along. So thank you for all of your contributions. And I think we can go ahead and close. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. I think even for myself, this was really inspiring experience to get to know everyone, to see what kinds of services everyone's doing, and just to hear everyone's perspective was really, really inspiring. I think I've said it in the past, and I've talked about this in the past, but really like our mentors are setting us up and providing us those opportunities to be the future because we are the next generation. We are going to be the next people who eventually go on to lead these services, lead these programs. Maybe we'll be mentors ourselves in the future. Maybe we've already started doing those kinds of things, but it was really inspiring to hear everyone's perspective on youth leadership and how everyone's doing really, really cool things out there, just internationally, since we have people from everywhere. So thank you so much, everyone who was an audience member, for joining today. Thank you to the youth panel for sharing their perspectives and for being patient with me and answering all of my questions. And thank you to our mentors who have always been with us every step of the way, kind of guiding us. It's all your guys' mercy and your guidance that has helped us get to where we are today. And yeah, I really appreciate everyone being here. I think we can go ahead and close. So thank you for being here. Have a great day. People